Good evening. Welcome, everybody. I think we'll start now and the rest will keep joining us. My name is Leah. I am one of the admins of Cloudforce Sky community. If you haven't heard of Cloudforce Sky community, we are a community of cloud enthusiasts, people who love work that is being cloud computing and so forth. Our core objective is to support each other and find network opportunities. We are here to learn how to freelance with our cloud skills, and particularly for this session, we are to develop our skills, and we do that with what we have as weekly challenges. If you're not part of our community and you'd like to be part of our community, go to our LinkedIn page. There is a form you can fill at Cloudforce Sky community on LinkedIn. We'll put the link in the chat later, and you can be able to register and do a few instructions that will be in the form. This webinar is recorded, and the recording will be available on YouTube on the channel of Cloudforce Sky community. So today we are going to jump right in. We have DevOps engineers, two of them, Lewis Sawe and Marcrine Musimbi, and they'll be taking us through a deeper dive into the CICD in the AWS environment. Marcrine, are you in?
Yes.
Lewis, are you present? Yes, I can see he's present. Okay, Marcrine, I hand it over to you to take us through.
Okay, Lewis will start with the last time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Lewis and I welcome you to the Cloudforce Sky community. So, as from the other week challenge, we are going to tackle how to implement the challenge. So let me share my screen right now. Okay. So today I'm going to tackle and implement challenge 7, which is AWS CICD Pipeline deployment. So the challenge objective was to design and implement a CI/CD pipeline using AWS services of a sample application of your choosing. I hope everybody got to try and implement the challenge. So the requirements were to have an AWS account, repo, maybe GitHub and code commit, and use the code pipeline provided by AWS. So we have code build, code deploy. So the steps for the challenge was to set up the CI/CD pipeline, create the pipeline, including the following stages: source, build, and deploy. Configure the source stage to fetch the source code from the GitHub repository. Configure the build stage to build and package the application using code build, and configure the deploy stage to deploy the application using code deploy or Elastic Beanstalk we are choosing. Configure testing and validation. Adding a testing phase to the CI/CD pipeline to execute the automated tests on the application. Define appropriate test cases to validate the functionality of the application, and configure the pipeline to fail if the tests fail. Another thing we will do is enable artifact storage, configure an S3 bucket as the storage for deployment of artifacts. Ensure that the artifacts generated during the build stage are stored in S3 for future use. And lastly, you're going to monitor and review. Set up a monitoring and on logging for the CICD pipeline. Configure the CloudWatch to capture logs and metrics for the pipeline. Review the pipeline logs and metrics to identify any issues or bottlenecks. And then step 5, pipeline updates and improvements. Make updates to the application code in the GitHub repository. Observe the CICD pipeline automatically triggering the build and deploy stages upon code changes, and modify the pipeline to implement blue-green deployments and canary releases for safer deployments. You get bonus points to implement environment-specific configuration management and integrate AWS code pipeline with the CloudFormation for infrastructure provisioning, or you can use Terraform or whichever AIC tools you are comfortable with. So up to now, up to there, any questions?
Any questions? You may raise your hand or you may enter your question in the chat box.
Okay. A question to you guys. How many attempted to do the challenge? Sammy. Are you in a position to unmute and talk about it?
I haven't tried this particular challenge, but I do this for my work. So I did pretty much similar tasks.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's okay. Anybody else? Collins, let me send you the link. Where is it? Okay, so I'm going to give an overview of everything that how the challenge we're going to tackle it. So for us, we're going to use the AWS code pipeline. So we have the code pipeline consists of various stages, as you can see on the left side of the screen. You have the source, and AWS has its own repository. So we recommended using GitHub if you're comfortable, but you can try setting up a repository with code commit, and you can see it's not that different, but you can see how it works, and setting up a repository, and maybe even you hosting one yourself. The artifacts where you store the artifacts, the various artifacts, and we recommended using S3 bucket. So like AWS Code Artifact is a managed repository, artifact repository that makes it easy for organizations of any size to securely store and publish software packages used in the software development process. Okay. I zoom in, David.
Yes, please.
How is that?
Thank you. Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. And the next part is the stages you're using is the build stage and the deploy stage. So like you're going to use the AWS to like the build and test the code, and you see how you are going to integrate from getting it from GitHub, the repository where you store the code, then build stages, how you are going to integrate a build spec file to and the various testing tools that are available to us, so that we can deploy we can build the file, then the next part is deployment, so that we can deploy, and we are going to use an EC2 instance for it. We're going to deploy our application to an EC2 instance. So these are basically the pipelines of how from the first stage to the last stage is. Okay. Any questions? I'm going to ask, what other tools are there outside the AWS for CICD that you know of? Jenkins, GitHub Actions. Any other? That's all. Bitbucket, pipelines, Buddy. So, what do you think, Jenkins? How do you think Jenkins works, Roy, as compared to the tools that are available to us in AWS? Or anybody, not specifically Roy. Nobody. Hata Google. Oh, sorry. Or GitHub Actions. Can you, like, Sammy, can you talk about it?
The goal is pretty much the same for all tools mentioned here, but I believe if we are going to deploy our application on AWS, it's easier to monitor and manage the workflow in general. So I do prefer AWS compared to other solutions.
Okay. Kevin, what about Bitbucket? Have you used it?
Yes. So yes, I've ever used it, especially when you're working with people who would want to use Atlassian tools, and maybe they just what happens is they want like no context switching. So maybe you're dealing with Jira issues and everything, but it pretty much works the same way. It has also the testing phase, the staging, and even a production phase, and you're able to look at your deployment history, just like in AWS. As some
Okay.
say.
Okay, thank you. And Buddy, that's a new one. Alex. Buddy. Okay. So who has heard of AWS Code Catalyst? Kevin. Can you, Kevin? You had your hand raised up.
Yeah. So yeah, Code Catalyst is I think it's a new service from AWS, and the good thing with it is it helps reduce the friction in terms of setting up a whole CI/CD pipeline, and basically, I've ever tried to deploy a React application using it. So it gives you a whole kind of an environment. You're able to create a space, you put in your project. You can even have a blueprint in terms of a starter code, and then you can even still bring in your own code and even set up a dev environment where you can just edit the code from there, and you can deploy your application maybe to other services such as Amplify or even Docker, ECS, whichever way you want to do it. So it's a nice way. It actually makes it very easy to set up a whole CI/CD pipeline, and also you can also deal with issues right from within the Code Catalyst environment, and you can integrate with other applications, other third-party applications. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. As you has mentioned, these are like a way like to implement as a very easy way to implement CI/CD pipelines in AWS, and you can use this tool. It simplifies the whole process of using of deploying the pipeline. So this is something that I want you, after implementing through the long process of the code pipeline, then we can implement using this. You can try using the setting up an account and doing the Code Catalyst way. Okay. So I think Marcrine, I'll hand over to Marcrine so that she can start the implementation for the pipeline. Marcrine, are you ready?
Yes. Thank you, Lewis. Okay. I'll share my screen. Yeah, I'll just share. So, Lewis has mentioned a few ways in which you can create a CI/CD pipeline from maybe GitHub or Bitbucket. So, I'm going to create a CI/CD pipeline. Okay, to walk you through how to create a CI/CD pipeline using code pipeline, code deploy, and code build. And we're going to deploy our project to an EC2 instance. So the first step of building a CI/CD pipeline, you have to create IAM roles. The first IAM role is going to be for an EC2 instance, so that it can be able to access the files in S3 bucket. And the next role, hello, okay, is anyone speaking? Okay, so if you have any question, you can type, and then Leah will tell me, because I can't see the other screen. Yeah, so the first step is to create IAM roles. The first IAM role, I've talked about it. The second IAM role is you're supposed to give code deploy permissions. So I had already created the roles, but I'm going to walk you through it. And if you're going to do this with me, you can inform me so that I don't go through it faster, so that you can go together. Okay, so creating a role. First, the first role you have to create is the role for the EC2 instance to allow it to have access to the S3 bucket. And we're going to create a role. We give it a policy, S3, full access. Yes, that one. Select that one. Then you click next. And we give our role a name. We can give it a EC2 role for S3. Yes, yeah. Let me just start down. Okay. Another name so that we can track it like that. And then everything else is a default. And then we click create. Yes, our first role has been created. We're giving EC2 access to S3. And then we create the second role. The second role is to allow code deploy to have access, to have rights. So there. And for the code deploy role, there are some things you're supposed to edit. The policy. So code deploy. Yes, this one. We're going to give it this one, AWS code deploy role. And then we click next. I'll just say here code deploy. Just say webinar like that. And then create. So if you go to the roles you've created for the code deploy, is it okay? Code deploy role webinar. So I'll go into this role and I'll show you something. So when you see this part here, we're not giving code deploy any rights, access. Okay, so we have to change this part. So you have to edit the trust policy.
1 minute, Marcrine.
Okay.
David Tumaini has his hand up.
Okay, David, go ahead.
Hi, Marcrine.
Hi.
The font is so tiny. Is it possible to enlarge it, to zoom in?
Okay, let me try. Is that okay? Wow, that's too big though. Okay.
Alternatively, David, you could reduce your screen to about 25%. Instead of increasing it, you reduce it, so the screen will be enlarged.
Okay, let me try that.
Okay, so I'm going to copy the policy I created earlier for the code deploy. to just search for it. Code deploy.
I have a question in the chat
Okay. Go ahead.
from Collins Juma. He asks what might be the permissions granted or granting to code deploy.
Okay, I'm going to show you that one right now. So
Okay.
we are supposed, okay, okay, we are supposed to allow this code deploy to interact with the EC2 because it's the one which will be pushing our project to the EC2 instance. After getting it from code build is getting the code from the source, and our source will be our GitHub repository. Is that okay? I hope he has understood. So we're going to update our policy there. And then any questions up to there? I hope everyone is understanding. But okay, this part, it's not that tough. So yes. So we go to our next step, which is we're going to create an EC2 instance where we will deploy our project. EC2. Okay, yeah. Wait for it to load. So we're going to launch an instance. We're going to call it Cloudforce challenge. Okay. And then we're going to use Ubuntu, but you can also use Amazon Linux. But I prefer Ubuntu. We're not going to create a key pair because we're not going to SSH from init from outside. I'm going to select an existing security group. And your security group port 80 should be open, port 443 and port 22 for the SSH. Port 80 is for HTTP, port 443 is for HTTPS. And in this case, we need port 80 and port 22. Yeah. So that's it. Everything looks good. We're not going to. So for the user data, I want to install it from the instance so that you can see every step. So this is our EC2 instance. It's pending. Wait for it to launch. As we wait, you can ask any questions before we get into the hard stuff. Okay. Yeah. No questions.
Marcrine.
There is a question from Roy.
Okay.
Roy Kiprop. He asks, so how about Windows for the EC2 server?
What does it mean? Oh, yeah, okay, Windows. Yes, you can use Windows, but I prefer Linux over Windows because using Linux is much easier and debugging is fun and easy too. So that's why, okay, I would advise you to use Linux, but Windows is good too. Yeah, and I know some people here have worked with Windows, like Patrick. Yeah, or if anyone has created a CICD pipeline using Windows, they can speak or answer Kiprop. Is that okay, Kiprop? So yeah, so we're going to connect to our instance. It's still initializing, but this is just for checks. So I'll connect to it. Wait for it to run. It's going to take some time. Yeah, there we are. We are in. So you can just clear your screen so that it's clean. So in this EC2 instance, what we're going to do, we're going to install a code deploy agent so that it can communicate easily with our code deploy. If you don't have that agent, it will not work. It will bring you errors before you even do anything. So we have documentation here for how to install code deploy agent for Ubuntu server, and there is also for Amazon Linux and the rest. Yes. So maybe I should share this link with you. Yes, I'll share. Yeah. So in this link, they're giving you every step by step. So you just copy the commands. This one is to update our system, our Ubuntu system, because it has nothing. It's a clean machine, so you have to update, to run updates before installing anything. And this is our second command. There you put a yes. Yes, and then we go to our next command. This one, to install that package. And we're not going to do this one. Okay, for this command, okay, you just don't go around copying commands. You have to understand what they're doing. So like for here, they're telling you that for this bucket name and for region identifier, so it will depend with where you're creating your EC2 instance and everything. So in my case, I'm doing it in North Virginia. So and here they've given you a list of bucket names that you can use depending with your region. So you wait for it to load. Yes, so you can see here we have US East. We have Ohio, North Virginia, North California, Oregon, Central, Island. So you can just come here and copy the part that you need and copy paste it in this command. And because here they have used my region, okay, that's not my region, but yeah, so I'll come here, paste it, and I'll just edit there. My region is US East 1. Yes, North Virginia is always US East 1. I hope everything looks good. Yes. Yeah, everything looks good. Just hit enter, and there we have it. And then the next step, you do this command. This is just to change the mod. Okay, someone can tell me what it is, but it's always to change the permissions, giving permissions. And there are many permissions you can give. You can do chmod 77, but that one is dangerous because everyone will have access to it. So you have to choose your commands wisely. Like for this one, if you put A plus X, that's for all users. Everyone who will be using your machine will be able to access that specific file. Yeah. So you have to know this these commands. And the next one is this one. Wait for it. Yeah. And then we have to confirm if it's up and running. Yes, you can see here it is active. Green always means success. So I'll just clear my screen. And then I will leave this window. Yeah, so come back here to the EC2 instance. The next step, you have to attach the role we created. Come here to security, modify IAM role. We select the one we've created for our EC2, this one. Yes, and then we update it. Now it is attached to our EC2 instance. And those are the steps, the main steps you need for EC2 instance for now. So our next step, the most exciting. So we'll go to, let me close this one. Yes. So we go to code pipeline. And before you start doing the IAM roles, the EC2 instance, you have to ensure that you have a GitHub repository. And yes, and you have a repository that you want to clone or something that you're working on, a project. Yes. Something that you can push changes from your local machine to the GitHub repository to the EC2 instance. Yes. Now we create a pipeline. We give our pipeline a name. I'll call it Cloudforce pipeline. We're going to create a new service role. It will be called this one. Okay, there. Allow. And then our source. Where are we going to get our code from? We're going to get it from GitHub. But you can also choose to use either of these, ECR, S3, or code commit, even Bitbucket. They are all there. So for GitHub, you come here and connect to GitHub. But okay, I'll go through all the steps, but mine I had already connected. So I'll give it a name so that you can follow through the steps. Cloudforce. Then you click to connect to GitHub. It will prompt you for a password. Are you guys still there? I hope. Yes. Okay. Then you click on install a new app. You select your GitHub and it will prompt you for a password. Yeah. Then you confirm. Thanks. And then you scroll down and you don't want to select all repositories. You only need to select one. So for me, I had already selected, but you come here and select and click save. And then it will bring you back to this page, to this default page. And you can select your connection the way you called it. For me, I'm going to choose the test one because I had already created it and I had selected a repository. My bookup front end, that's how my repository is called. Yeah. And then you choose the branch name. Okay, this branch name is where when changes are pushed to it, it will trigger the process of code build. Yes, it will trigger the pipeline. Yeah. So for me, I'm going to choose main, but for you, you can choose to create another branch and choose that branch. Yes. Mostly people choose the main. So when you're collaborating on a project, other members can push to their maybe branches. other sub branches. And then the senior developer will merge the changes with the master branch, and then the changes will reflect in wherever you are deploying to, whether it's an image or just EC2 instance. Yeah. And then you click next. And then you choose our build. We're going to use code build, but if you're using Jenkins, you'll probably go for Jenkins. For me, we're going to use code build. So you click on create project. We're going to create a code build project, and we're going to give it a name, Cloudforce build. Okay. You can give it a description, but it's optional, but it's good to give description. And then the next step, we want a managed image. We choose the operating system, Ubuntu, runtime, standard, image, which is the latest one. Yeah. And then service role, it will create for us this one, build spec file. So we're going to pause there because we're going to talk about build spec. So as I've said earlier, now let me close these tabs so that you're not confused. Yes, so at the root of your project, now this is my project, my bookup frontend. It's in my local machine, and it's also in GitHub. So in your root project, you have to create a file called buildspec.yaml. This file will help with the build in this part. But if you don't want to create the file, you can insert the commands here. You can select insert build commands. But for me, I'm going to use build spec file. And for you to use that, you have to create that file at the root of your project, not inside another folder in your project, but at the root. So here's my build spec file. And depending with the framework you're using, it will have different commands and almost different everything. The only similarity will be that they are all supposed to be YAML files. And I don't know why you can't call it YAML, but you're supposed to call it YML. Yeah. So this is in YAML format. As you can see, I'm using Node.js version 18, but it's not a must for you to put this version. Commands, npm install, npm run build, and then these are my files. That's all for build spec. So we get back to AWS. So here, you put the name of your file, the buildspec.yaml, and you must make sure it's correctly spelled. Otherwise, it will give you problems. And then that's it for the build project. We continue to code pipeline. Here. Still creating. There it is. And then we go to the next step. Now the deploy provider. So it will depend with what you're using to deploy. You can either use CloudFormation, and CloudFormation is really interesting. But for today, we're going to use Code Deploy because you want to know how to use the console before you start writing templates. Yeah. So the application name should be from Code Deploy. So we're going to go back a step. Here you come to the deploy. You open link in a new tab. Now we are in the Code Deploy. We're going to create a new application, and we'll call it Cloudforce Code I'll just call it deploy. That. And then you choose a platform. We're going to use EC2 on premises. Create application. And then we're going to create a deployment group. inside your application, you have to create a deployment group. We give it a name. Or I'm just going to call everything Cloudforce. So I'll call it like that, deployment group. And then service role, the one we created, the IAM role. We're going to select it there. And then you can choose to use in place deployment type or blue-green deployment. Yes, it's up to you. And then environment configuration, we're going to use Amazon EC2 instance. If you choose auto-scaling groups, you have to create them. Yeah, so for tonight, you're going to use EC2 instances. And if you choose this option, you have to, for your EC2 instance, you have to tag it. And our EC2 instance, if you go to tags, the tag we created is the name and the value. So we're going to use that one. We're not going to create another tag. Yeah, there it is. And then for load balancer, we're not going to use load balancer. Yes, and then you create the deployment group. And we wait. I hope you guys are there. Okay. Yeah, now it has created. And then we go back to our pipeline steps. Okay, you can choose to refresh the page, but I prefer to go previously and then go back to next. Choose code deploy.
Hi, Marcrine.
Yes.
There's a question from Collins Juma.
Yeah.
He asked, what's the difference between blue and green and the other deployment option?
Okay, that question I'll direct it to Lewis.
So there are very many deployment options that are available for you. So the most common is the blue-green, and so the blue-green is basically you deploy two environments. One you assign the color blue, and the other you assign the color green. So like one environment. You deploy, it's the original environment, like it's the original running application. Then the update is deployed in the other environment. Like so, the blue, you say that's the running application. Then if you want to run an update, you deploy it to the green one. So you have two concurrent applications running, one without the update, one with the update. So slowly you transition to, if it has no errors or something, or you are testing something, you slowly transition from one point to fully deployment in the application. So the other deployment option was
in place.
Yeah. So that's basically you deploy at once the application, like you deploy everything at once.
Yeah.
You don't deploy in stages.
Nice. Yeah. That's it. I hope the one who was asking has understood. Okay, so I'll continue. Now we choose the application name we've just created, and then wait for it to load. We choose the deployment group, and then we click next. And you review to see all the steps if everything is configured correctly. And before I create the pipeline, there is another file called the appspec YAML. This one is used with the deployment, with the code deploy. So in this file, there are steps. So like it's also a YAML file. So for the first step, saying the source, the destination. So it will store the application in this folder, the app folder. And then here the permissions, you have to create a user, EC2 user, which we've not yet done. And then it will go through these steps. So when it comes here, it will find scripts. for this first one, it will go to the before install.sh script. So you create a folder called scripts and you put your scripts there. So for before install, they're just simple commands. You cd into the, you get it into the app directory, and then you install. For application, it's a React framework. So we have to install Node.js, we have to install npm. And the reason why I'm installing Nginx is because we need a web server to serve our application. That's why I'm using Nginx, but you can use other things like PM2. There are many ways to do this. You just have to select your preference. And then there is the after install. After installing, now you install dependencies. In your local machine, when you clone a project, maybe it's in React, you'll have to install Node in your machine, npm, and then you come and now when you get to the project directory, you have to run some commands like npm init, npm install. You build the files, and if you're using Nginx, you have to copy the build files to this specific directory, and it's not the same for every operating system. Some other operating system will store the Nginx in different directories. This is not really necessary, but you need it. PM2 is used to run the application like forever. It won't stop. Yeah. And then the start server, we just start the Nginx or reload it. Yes. That's it for the scripts and the app spec YAML. So before we create the pipeline, we go back to our EC2 instance, we connect to it, and we add a EC2 user. We wait for it to load. As we wait, you can ask any question. It has loaded and no one has asked a question. So we're going to use this command, add user, EC2 user. You're going to be prompted for a password. Input your password, and the rest you can just you can choose to fill them or not. Just clear my screen and go back to creating our pipeline. Now we create the pipeline. Yes. So as we wait for our pipeline to create, yes, you can ask questions, and it's also not a guarantee that it will be successful. So wait for it, and you guys can ask questions. It's going to take some time. Yeah. You can see the source has completed. Now for the build and then the deploy. Wait for them. You can see the progress right here. Yes. Any questions? Okay, no one has questions.Maybe we'll talk when it's time for debugging, and you can see time is not on our side. But
so Marcrine, can I ask something?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. So I saw you have done both the three stages. You've the build stage and then the deploy stage. I don't remember the first one. So is there any procedure to follow when you're having apps that you need to use? Can you skip the build stage?
Yes, you can skip it, but you will definitely have to go back to it.
Okay, what scenario would I have to skip the build stage?
Okay. The build stage. Okay. Okay, for me, I know. I know that you can't skip it unless you want to skip it and then create the deployment part and then go back later when you to the build page and start creating the things you need. But you don't have to skip it. Why would you skip it?
Let's say, for example, you're deploying a static web app, that doesn't
Okay.
to be built, something of the sort. That you need to go through the build stage.
Okay. If you don't really need it, you can skip it. But I haven't tried that, so I don't know what would happen if you skip it.
All right, no problem.
Okay. Any questions? And I'm also new to this, so I'm still learning. So you can ask your questions and we can brainstorm together as we wait for the deploy, and I can show you the details. So because the deploy stage always has errors. Okay, not that you're supposed to be scared. So okay, I hope you've seen the process with which so you come here to details if you want to see what's going on. You open in a new tab and you can see here the progress and the events. So if any stage fails, you'll see it from here. So we're going to wait. If it brings an error, we will see the logs of the error and we can debug it. But for now, you can ask your questions, and I can see time is not on our side. Yeah. Ask questions or suggest anything or something better. Yes. It's like everyone is okay with pipelines. So yeah, Leah, can you Leah, are you there?
Sorry, may I ask a question?
Go ahead.
We're on the first step, while creating IAM roles,
Okay.
there was a role you created to allow EC2 instance to have access to the S3 buckets.
Yeah.
But you haven't created an S3 bucket. What might be the, or how, any other resources that might be accessing from the S3
Okay.
to the EC2?
So the files are being stored in an S3 bucket. You can see it's here, S3.
Okay.
Yeah. So you don't have to create it.
So that means it has already been created automatically while setting up or rather launching your or creating your code, the code deploy.
Yes, you don't have to create it. Okay. Any other question? This is going to take a lot of time. Any questions before we see the real thing?
So Marcrine.
Yes.
This is Evans. I have a bit of a question too. So I was going through the whole process, and I came to realize that you could have your files either in a zip file or in an open document. So while in the repository that you could have your documents in a zip file or an open document. So would it make a difference, and where should we use either?
Okay. Okay, according to me, the way I see it, I think you should have it open. It doesn't make sense that you zip your files in a GitHub repository because you'll want to make changes. So like when you make changes, just push them to your repository and the files will pick up. You don't have to zip your project.
Okay. All right.
Yes, just use normal files.
So, but you can zip though, right?
Yeah, yes, but
the pipeline will work well. The files are zipped.
Okay, it's not. I don't think it's good practice to zip your projects.
Okay.
Yeah, don't do that.
Okay, awesome.
Yes. Any questions from anyone? It's like everyone is good at CICD pipeline. Yeah, now we have an error and it's a good thing. So like when you come here, you find that the code deploy agent was not able to receive the lifecycle. So when you get this error, you just have to restart your EC2 instance. You can stop it and start it, and it will work as long as you've installed the code deploy agent, or you can connect to it and check if the code deployment is working or if it's active. So yes, so there is a command to check the code deploy logs. It's here. It's in my GitHub repository. You can find it. And it's also everywhere in every documentation. So these are the logs. How to debug such errors in code deploy. You just come here and you check the logs of everything that's going on. And you can see here, like it's missing credentials. So it's not able to connect with our code deploy. So I'll just clear this and check the status of our code deploy agent. I know it's okay. So we'll just clear this. So and we've attached our IAM role. So you just have to restart the instance. So I'll stop it and start it again. But as we wait for it to start, basically that's the whole process of creating a CICD pipeline. You just have to do some debugging on the code deploy part, which is not hard. It's just simple things. So we can either stop there or...
Okay, Marcrine, before we stop. So I was really looking forward to seeing the changes, how the changes would integrate with the pipeline.
Nice.
So let's say, for example, you've updated your code on your repository. How do you get to implement the changes on your pipeline?
Let me show you. Actually, that part can work from where. Let me just start the instance again. Give it a minute. So that's the most beautiful part about CICD. So can give it 2 minutes maybe. Yes. Okay. You want to see how things happen. So wait for this to load. It is still stopping. As we wait for it, okay, it has stopped. Now we can start it again. Yes. So as we wait for it to run. So Evans, to see the change, I'll just go back here. Let's wait for this one to start. Okay. So to see the changes, you can see here we have the source, we have the build, and we have the deploy. So you just go to your local machine and edit something. Let's say you're working on, I don't want to edit something big. I'll just add to README. Maybe something like a comment. Okay, not a comment really, but just a statement. Command to check. Code deploy agent. Code deploy agent logs. And then I click save. And then I just do the git add. Okay, let me just type it out. Git add, the normal commands. Git commit. I'll say updates. README updates. There, and then you just do git push. Wait for it to load to push the changes to our GitHub. You can see it has pushed, and then this one will pick the changes like almost immediately. You just have to wait for it. Yes, you can see it has picked the changes, and now it has from the source, and now it will build again, and then it will deploy the new changes. And you can also see where the changes are. Like when you click here, the source, this link, it will take you to where I have made the change. Let's wait for it to load. There it is, this line, exactly what I've done. So, yeah. Evans.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. That's awesome. That's awesome. I
Yeah.
wanted to really check that, and so it will automatically pick from.
Yes.
So if you maybe had like live servers, you would have to maybe consider the blue-green deployment so that.
Okay, for the blue-green, okay, it's not a must because when you are a team, people have to push their changes not to the master branch but to their sub branches. So it won't pick from the other branches.
Right,
it will only pick from the master. Yes.
So you will just have to optimize the pipeline to pick from the master, and then the people can make the changes on other branches.
Yes. So from the source, there is a part where I chose the main. So
awesome.
That's why yeah.
Thank you.
Any questions before we go home? We go to sleep.
Are there any questions? You can unmute and ask your question
before we close, before we call it a night.
Marcrine, it seems there are no questions.
Yes. So
we have Kevin. Kevin to
Yes, Kevin.
Yes, I wanted to know whether maybe how you can put the testing, maybe just as an overview, you don't have to demo, like how do you put the test phases, which was part of the challenge?
The test, okay, testing happens in the build, like it's automatic, so you don't have to create your own tests. The build section will do the tests, or you can code the test in your project.
Okay.
Yeah, so this just happens automatically. The build stage does the testing. If you use Jenkins, it will do that for you. It just checks if the code is running properly. Nothing much. So you can see now the steps are moving. We just had to restart our EC2 instance, but for every stage it can fail, and if it fails, you don't have to be scared. You just go to check what's the error and you go solve it. Like for now, it's here in this file. So if it fails, the after install, I'll just come to my code and check my scripts.
A quick one before you proceed.
Okay.
Is there a better way to kind of debug or rather check the error logs other than going to the EC2 console?
Okay, you can use the code deploy agent, but if it's something to do with the code, it will bring the logs right here. So like it will tell you where the error is. Okay, it won't specifically tell you where the error is. It will tell you what the error is, and then you figure out where you've gone wrong. So like from this part here, like for before install, mine has passed. So there is no way an error will be in that file. For install, there is no way an error will be there. So maybe here. So an error might pop up here or here. And this
like other services you can leverage CloudWatch. Does this one also has integration with CloudWatch?
Yeah, it does. It has. But but some errors you just have to go back and edit the code. The scripts actually, there is no shortcut for that. You have to know, like maybe the error will be npm not found. Now you have to know where have I not installed npm, or if you've installed, is it not compatible? The version is not compatible with your Ubuntu or something. Errors like that. So you have to know. And it has succeeded. Everything, literally everything. So. So this is the view of success. After waiting a long time, let me just refresh.
Maybe the this question might be out of the scope for today. But what if I want to? Where do I get now the let me say this project I've deployed. So where do I get the link so that suppose I just want to have access to it, to the project running.
Yes, it is in my GitHub. But I'll just send you guys my GitHub account.
No, not really.
Oh, you want
you build the pipeline, from the pipeline itself.
So you want which project specifically?
The same project, the React project you've deployed.
Yeah, it's in my GitHub.
I think they want to see whether the instance is running with the...
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was not getting you. So now that's another block. Now we have to come here. I'll just check if everything is okay. But first, because I've used Nginx, I'm very sure that Nginx is running. What I'm not sure is if my build commands did work. So you come here to view your project, but because you're not using HTTPS, you just use the HTTP. And wow, this is magic. There it is. Sure. Everything. And I can just come here and change something on the homepage. Yeah, okay. We want to see it in action, right? Or are you guys sleepy? So we go to pages. I'm happy about this. Okay, so this is my homepage. So we're going to change something. Maybe we'll write Cloudforce somewhere here. Now this is a developer from the other end coding. Cloudforce Sky challenge. Now this is the developer side. This is the developer, front-end developer. Yes. Now we do the git add, git commit, and then we do homepage updates. There, and then we do git push, and then we relax. We sit and wait for the senior developer to merge the changes to the main. But for mine, we're not going to wait for the senior developer because I'm the senior and everything. So we wait for it to build, but it will be quick this time because the first time builds takes time. But this one, it will just go quickly. And yeah, that's the beauty of CICD pipelines. Any questions as we wait to see the work of our hands, our brains, or Any questions?
Marcrine, can I ask something? Maybe something is a little light. So the events that are taking place on the pipeline, maybe scroll down the events. So we can have the event history on the artifacts storage. They are stored on the S3, right?
Yes,
And you can download the file, right?
Yes. Yeah. You can.
Right.
Yes.
Also, you can even debug it from there, right?
You can. Okay, debugging from the file.
Let's say, for example, you've downloaded a zip file that is saved on S3 about the event. Okay, I was in the process of downloading it, but I didn't look at the content. So, what content is inside that zip file?
The content in there is the things that you've pushed from your GitHub.
Okay, and maybe any logs, maybe error logs.
Yes, you can even find error logs, but this console gives you the errors right there, so you don't have to go to S3 download.
Okay.
You just have to you check it there.
Uh-huh.
If it's something to do with code deploy agent and you are sure you've installed it, you've attached an IAM role, you can just restart your EC2. And if it's something to do with the script, maybe your script is wrong somewhere. Like maybe you can.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm trying to understand why the S3 is needed. So maybe it could be for saving the deployment.
No, the S3 is to push to the EC2.
Okay, artifacts. Okay, to push to the EC2.
Yes. So, okay, there is someone who explains it better. Yeah, this person here. So, I'm not really sure it is, but there is. Maybe I can send you this article. Maybe you'll get a better understanding. Yes. Okay, everyone who is here. And I'll also write an article for this particular thing.
Thanks.
Yes, there it is. That article is good, but he also faced some challenges with the deploy part. And the scripts, you have to be careful with the scripts because they're not all right. So you have to understand what the script is doing to debug it. Because when you look at my script, I've changed a lot of things. So we wait for this one to deploy. We see the changes, if it has changed, and then we go and sleep.
Meshak has a question. Meshak Mutunga.
Go ahead.
Yes, Marcrine, how are you?
I'm fine.
I have a question. I have several questions, actually. Number one is, I think your repository is public, right?
Yeah, it's public.
What happens when it comes to private repositories? And then number two, it's about the build. I mean, the rate, the duration it takes to build. It's almost instant, right?
Yeah.
At a scenario where I don't really need to build every day or something, due to some reasons. And then number three is the same process you're using for GitHub, the same one you use for AWS code commit. That's the repository management for AWS.
Okay, so I'll start with the first one. If I keep my repository private, I won't be able to, no one will be able to clone it and no one can access it. It will just be private to me. Like I have some repositories that are private, so no one can see them and I can't share with anyone unless okay.
So the thing is, how will I be able to deploy it to the pipeline? Because obviously if it's a serious project, I don't...
if it's a serious project, okay, it doesn't have to be public for it to go to codepipeline. It can be private and you can still do it.
So there's no key being involved, because I'm looking at a scenario where somebody has the link to my GitHub, private repository, and due to some reason I kick them out of the team. That's a collaborator. And so they may go and deploy. So what's the security?
Once you stop someone from using your repository, you kick them out, they cannot deploy anymore.
So it won't build when they use that link?
they won't be able to change anything.
I'm asking about
okay.
Using the repository to build. So if somebody has my private link, there's definitely need for a key so that you can access that repository.
Yeah.
So if they have the link only, does that mean that they'll go and deploy or use that link to deploy, or what's the security implementation?
When you have a private repository, you have an option to choose people that can collaborate within that repository. So you can add their emails, or you can add their emails, and so they can be able to access it. But if you kick them out, they won't be able to access it anymore.
My question actually is,
okay.
Now you making your pipeline, then you have to start at build, then you specify your repository, right?
Yes.
And so because yours is public, so it will definitely find the repository.
Yes.
So in my case, I'm using a private repository. So I go to build, put that link over there.
Yeah.
And so is there a security feature that maybe sees that my repository is private and maybe ask for a key or something?
No, let me just show you. Okay, time. Okay.
Or maybe
let me show. Okay. Do you want to talk?
Yeah, maybe you can try build using a private link, you see.
Okay, so I'll go to, where was that part? Code pipeline. It's just a quick one. I hope everyone will be patient. So I'll open a new tab and I'll just close this ones. So when you create a pipeline, there, let us just give it a name. We go to next. Our source is GitHub. We go to, okay. Wait for it to load. So this is our GitHub. So if I want to connect to GitHub, so we come here, put a name, connect to GitHub. It's going to be a quick one. Wait for it to load. There it is. Install a new app. And then you choose your GitHub repository. You come here, select repository. So I'm going to check my repository. Okay, sorry, my private repositories. So I'll just come here, wait for it to load. I have 72 repositories. Most of them are private. So I'm going to find a private one. We see if it, okay, book application is private.
Okay.
We come here. Where is it? It is there. So I'm going to search for the book application. Book application. Here it is, and it's a private one.
Okay.
So I'll remove this one because I just want this book application and save. And it will redirect us.
Okay.
So we connect. Like you don't have to do anything, just do that. And you can see it as connected. And you can choose our repository book application, which is private. And you can choose, it has two branches. So you can choose either master or this one. Okay. Yeah, that's it.
I think he was meaning if there would be authentication when connecting to GitHub.
No, there won't be the part of authentication is inputting your password, connecting to GitHub. Yeah. So no one can connect to it if they don't have your password.
Okay, I got you.
Nice. So you can see our last build has worked. So we just refresh here and see if things really work. Yeah, Cloudforce Sky Challenge. There, you have your answers, and yeah, the night is great. Anyone with a question? Now that you've seen a CICD in action. Anyone with a question or answer or something better can ask.
Just a quick comment, Marcrine.
Yeah.
This is Patrick. Now, thank you for that demonstration. Just wanted to say thank you. You are awesome. You are a good teacher. At least you've understood some stuff. So anybody that joined us late, you will get this recording in the course of this week or next week. Thank you. On our YouTube channel, on our official YouTube channel. That's what I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone with a question? I guess we'll end it there. Sorry for taking much of your time. Yeah. Good night.
There's no problem, Marcrine.
Okay.
Thank you very much, you and Lewis. If we have weekly challenges, if you've never joined our community, and to do those weekly challenges, you must be a member of Cloudforce Sky community. If you want to join us, it's free of charge. You can go to our LinkedIn page. There is a form you'll fill in and the instructions you'll be instructed to do. Follow them and you'll be a part of our community, and you can have the challenges and any additional assistance that you may require in your AWS journey. So with that, let us end here. Have a good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.